Yo, happy birthday, Coven. I'm passing the phone to someone who loves BTS. Fake a love. Fake a love.
Well, on that note, welcome to the Lab Podcast, episode 16. Joined by a fellow lab member, Mr. Dan Song.
Sick.
You might have seen him in a previous episode with Jackie. I think it's episode 3. But now we just get out of our little private session.
Nice. Finally. Just like we do at home.
Well, I mean, for context, we live together. We're roommates. But we also work in lab together and also, creatively outside. And I'm thinking of did we talk? We definitely talked about how we met each other in the last episode.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
did.
So you don't get our backstory today. Sorry. You're going to have to watch that one.
Yeah, we're in the present now.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of like a little bit of an impromptu episode. I'm actually leaving in a couple days to join Ethan on his GSoul North America tour.
Finally.
So,
Good riddance.
it's actually just going to be you at home for a week because all the other roommates are gone too.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to join Ethan, so we just kind of wanted to fill in this episode in particular before I leave, and then you'll probably see Coven on the next 2 at least, probably. So, let me know in the comments later if Coven's a good host or not. You have to come back from that video onto this video.
Oh, Coven's hosting the next one?
Yeah.
Yo,
Next 2.
That's wild.
I don't know how that's going to go.
That's be a
honestly.
rodeo.
I'm actually going to listen to them because I just out of curiosity.
Yo, this guy's gonna hit him with a question like, yo, so what do you think? And just leave it at that.
Yeah, and they're just gonna be like, yo, it'd be funny if you edit, like the podcast edits where it's just the host talking to themselves.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just like silence.
I think he would do that regardless of the editing. Like,
You
he
don't
would
need
just
to
be
edit.
talking to himself.
We should just get an episode with just him. It'd be so funny. But yeah, we're filming this episode, so we're just gonna go off a list of topics that are relevant right now. Because we don't really do that as a format. So I feel like it'd be interesting to talk about it now, which specifically we're going to get into the Drake-Kendrick beef as 2 Toronto mandoms,
Yeah.
Whose side are you on?
Oh, man. You know.
Or you had to say it for the audience.
Man. Team Kendrick.
Team Kendrick.
Gotta be.
K-Dot.
What about you?
I feel like Yo, it's tough. I think it's after the last track is probably Kendrick.
So it was like going back and forth for you.
Yeah, because it genuinely was like Kendrick would drop, and then Drake's response, I was like, okay, that was great. And then Kendrick drops, you're like, okay, that's...
You were on Drake's side for like 30 minutes, and then Kendrick dropped the next 2.
No, but then Drake's response to Meet the Grams, I was just like, okay, well...
Yeah.
He kind of was just like, I'm done. Like, oh, all right.
Yeah. Kendrick kind of came at him like with like full force, and then Drake was just like, nuh-uh.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Also, I think the way Kendrick says certain lines, and he just has like the way Kendrick says things and raps, like it just hits so much harder when he's insulting you.
No, for real. It's like this guy like does not give a fuck. Like he doesn't care about making it like pop appeal or anything like that. Like he just like adds all of his character into it.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting seeing that during this entire beef as well. And also how like the Toronto music scene, especially the underground scene, has reacted to it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because it's like there definitely are people who are like very much like ride or die Drake, and you can see it, and they're just like no Kendrick, like we're on Drake's side.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because like part of it is like because some of the we'll say allocations for now that Kendrick said about Drake, like it affects his public image and his perception, and he's gonna lose sponsors, and losing sponsors means losing money.
Yeah, I think it was one thing for the internet to be like spreading that kind of rhetoric, but to have like one of the greatest like MCs in the world, like one of the living legends, say that shit and like make it catchy too. It's kind of like all.
Wait, did it hit number 1 too?
Yeah, it hit number 1.
Oh, you don't want a diss track about you to hit number 1.
Yeah,
that hurts. That actually hurts.
He got the Meek Mill treatment.
Yeah.
He knows how it feels.
Well, I feel like him doing that, like he kind of had to say he won. Like Drake didn't do that.
Yeah, that is true.
It's part of like the pop culture, like kind of sort of like zeitgeist now.
Yeah, actually, it's so interesting too, because like just living in Toronto, especially like being a Toronto artist and everything, like you kind of do have to, give a lot of credit to Drake for like what he did for like the culture and for the scene and everything. But at the end of the day, it's just like, yo, this is a rap battle, and like, we're going for like, the person who raps better.
Yeah, and Kendrick got him. Yeah. Kendrick got him on that one.
Kendrick got his ass.
Oh, jeez.
I think the thing is too is that like their fan bases already are like so divided, because it's like, at the end of the day, like Drake is more in the lane of like pop rap and everything, and Kendrick is a lot closer to like what true rap or like true MC like skill is.
Yeah.
And like those, it's very few people that are going to be in both camps, and are going to legitimately be like flip-flopping like back and forth.
Yeah, that's true.
Like at the end of the day, none of these people are going to be seeing eye to eye. Like they're never going to fully agree that like, oh, Kendrick won or Drake won.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely inherent biases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like Kendrick in a rap battle, like, is over.
Yeah, it's over.
We know it's over now.
Yeah, you just can't win.
Yeah.
Like you saw that clip of him doing fucking doing burpees, and like listening to like a bunch of like old like soul music.
No, wait, Kendrick?
Yeah, Kendrick.
When?
I don't know. It's just like this random ass clip that was posted.
Okay.
And then people were like bringing up that clip again after he dropped all the diss tracks. They're just like, yo, I don't know what Drake is thinking, like trying to go against this guy. Like he's weird as hell.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I think the thing that really ended him, Drake specifically, was BBL Drizzy.
Oh yeah.
Like, that was too good. Like,
that one was like he was already on the ground, and then Metro Boomin just walks him and like kicks him in the nuts.
It was actually perfect, because specifically what Drake said to Metro was just shut up and just make beats.
Yeah.
And then he just makes the craziest like AI like music beat. It's just like, all right, that's like the perfect response,
Yeah, actually it's so perfect.
Especially the producer, like you kind of
like I've like tapped into like levels of like, oh, using this beat is like disrespectful. Like even with like Tupac and Biggie, right?
Yeah.
Like using that sample, it was like disrespectful to like Biggie's camp and everything.
Yeah.
Like the Hit 'Em Up record. But for this, it's like going to like another level.
Yeah, it is a lot of mind games and like layers to it. And I think also funny how, one of our roommates, and I'm sure like a lot of other people online, are just like, yo, Drake should rap on the BBL Drizzy beat. And he just didn't for a little bit until the Sexy Red album dropped recently. But it just sounds like he probably already sent the verse and on a different beat, and they just switched the beat in the middle of it to BBL Drizzy, because he doesn't reference it. He's not like in the lyrics. There's nothing self-aware about him doing that specifically. It literally just sounds like they switched the beat like last second.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's like, I don't know. At that point, it's like you aren't really winning anything either. You're not really like,
and it's
like
late.
saving face, and it's late. It's like been like 2-3 weeks from that point. It's like, all right, let's move on.
It's kind of just whatever. But I think the BBL Drizzy sample was really interesting, because it was actually Dano was AI at the time, and then like seeing the articles and stuff, I'm like, oh, it is an AI generated thing, by the way, which is crazy. Yeah, it sounds so good. That's what I realized about AI music recently too. It's actually so good.
Yeah, it became like so sophisticated.
Yeah, because I mean, AI in music has been around, in the music industry has been around for like a decent amount already, and we even use it in our production and stuff like that when it comes to like mastering or doing like mix downs. Like there are like programs that use AI to help. With that. And so, but seeing it like full fledged, like you could just sample someone or make like a song and then resample that.
Yeah,
it's like actually crazy, and it's seamless. You won't even know.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like AI art where like there's like the extra finger or like the faces are a little bit warped or whatever. Oh, even now it's like honestly gotten really good. But AI music, like off the bat, or as this iteration of it, is just like crazy.
Yeah, it really is. Like even some of our friends like experimenting with like that kind of stuff, making diss tracks like about each other.
Yeah.
With
like, why is this so good? Why is this so good?
Yeah, it's wild. I think AI, especially when it's attributed or like applied to something that's like artistic, is always going to be like pretty controversial.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's weird for me, but I think in the case of like the BBL Drizzy beat, I think it strikes that like perfect like level of just like, okay, like we're using it for something that's like a little bit more lighthearted, something that's like a little bit more, I feel like AI when it comes to like using it for memes and jokes and stuff is like, that's where I'm just like, okay, that's like the limit. That's where I'm okay with it being.
Yeah.
But I think when you're trying to, use that type of sampling or that type of like methodology and apply it to something that is supposed to have like a lot of layers to it, but at its core like isn't coming from something that is like
genuine.
Yeah, super genuine or super like grassroots.
Personal.
It's like that's where it starts to get like a little bit muddied for me. And maybe that's just like what's the word? Like a pretentious way to look at it. But I think part of like sampling is also like respecting like the original art that goes into it. And I think when you kind of pull that out of nowhere from like the AI void is where it gets like kind of, I don't know, weirdly.
I wonder what the implications of AI music is. Obviously, like we can say major labels have access to like just create songs while cutting out like production and not having to give like the small percentage they're giving anyways, and they're just like taking that away completely. But it's like, how do they? Obviously, the voice is drawn from a specific person usually, but when it comes to like, if you use someone's drums or like someone's like piano, for example, you actually have to credit them. / like give them royalties for it.
Yeah.
You can't just use like an artist like drum pack and then not give them royalties for it.
Yeah.
So like when AI music samples the drums and the melodies and stuff, like, or melodies you don't need to, but for the drum samples and stuff, I wonder like what the implications are.
Yeah, that's why I'm considering too.
Because like there's a lot of lawsuits for like visual arts about like AR using their intellectual property, but like how can you prove that that's your snare exactly?
Yeah,
it's like I know it's such a gray area, but I guess there hasn't been any issues with AI music in like really big like top 100 Billboard music yet. So I guess we don't have to worry about it yet until it happens. It will happen for sure. It will happen.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna happen.
It's just when,
Yeah, it probably has happened already, and we just like don't.
Yeah, we just didn't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
I mean, in terms of like the history of big music lawsuits, the Katy Perry one was like interesting. Was it Katy Perry?
Yeah, it was the Dark Horse one.
Yeah. Where like it was the same like chord progression or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. There was also the Ed Sheeran one.
Oh yeah. But they won both. Oh, say they as in like the defendant won both of them, which is Katy Perry and Ed Sheeran. But it was kind of scary because if they lost, it's like, it's like opening a huge can of worms.
Yeah, actually,
because
no music that we have is safe, especially when it's like in the realm of something that's more popular.
Right. Because it's like technically there is only a finite amount of music you can make, like in terms of melodies, because there's only so many notes.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you can talk about microtones and negative harmony and things like that, and you can definitely like go way further in it. But like theoretically, there are only a finite amount of songs that can be made. Obviously, it's like in the millions, billions right now, but like we'll never get there in our lifetimes. But it's definitely like, if you can't use the same chord progressions, like what are you really gonna do? You can't make
literally.
Music. Yeah.
Like just all of R&B music is fucked. Like that 251.
Yeah, 251 GG.
Yeah.
Actually, GG.
All right, let's delete everything. Let's move on. We're going to like ambient music. You know what I'm saying?
There is like music genre. I learned this in like music class where there's like artists that specifically don't want patterns in their music. And like, yeah, so like the duration of how a note is played and consecutive notes and like the gap between like major third, minor third, these things, it's like literally random or seemingly random throughout the entire song. And what you get is a very abstract, like almost like just like what is like very unlistenable, like you can't consume it type of thing.
Yeah.
But the idea is that like there's nothing repetitive. Every individual note is unique in that song, and I think it's a really interesting concept. But I feel like it's not very consumable.
Yeah, did you mention abstract in the way that you described it?
What do you mean abstract?
Like I guess it's like when you go to a museum, right, and you have like abstract like performance art or stuff like that. Yeah. It's just like stuff that is almost tapping into like being weird or being different for the sake of being different.
Yeah, I would say that's where that person is coming from. I would say.
Yeah, like oh man, I don't know like how I feel about that stuff personally, because I feel like it's just like I don't know. It's like complicated.
There's a reason why pop music is popular.
Yeah,
right? Like it's mass consumption. It feels good. It sounds good. Like you can just honestly, what you just want to be able to dance to it, like have like a feel, a groove, and energy. And like when something's like random, you're just like, oh, like how do I even interpret this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because then it starts to bring in like the sense of artistic ego into it as well, where it's like for a lot of the music that like I like to listen to, it really brings you into like a sonic landscape or like, you know, somebody's story, and it ends up being like kind of like a soundtrack to like a greater picture that they're painting. But when it kind of removes you and it takes you out and it makes you observe almost the person in the process of making something like for the sake of being different, and like kind of putting the artist like in the forefront, is where I'm kind of like, oh, it's like a little weird. It's a little,
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Like, I don't know how much I can enjoy this or how much it really says to me, because I feel like I just end up being annoyed by it. Like personally.
Yeah.
And that's not like shitting on it. Like that's just like
that's just how it is.
Yeah, how I feel about it. Yeah. And maybe that's the emotion it's supposed to elicit too.
I guess so. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting at the time. I didn't really think about it until recently, where I was just like, that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I guess at some point that's like all we're gonna be able. Like maybe it becomes popular. You never know.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely unlikely. True. Just like it just depends on like where we go societally and how like people consume music. Because like, well, another interesting one is like, there's this anime called Carol on Tuesday. I don't know if anyone's watched it, but it's about specifically humanity living on Mars now, and how there are no humans playing music or making music. It's only essentially AI, but robots like making like electronic music, where like only robots like playing the music itself. There's no humans playing like a guitar anymore, recording. And it's like kind of exploring how that society consumes music, and how these two girls, Carol and Tuesday, want to go back to the roots of like playing music on Earth in this universe, but like humans just playing music again. And I thought it was really interesting, the theme of like exploring that. And it's kind of not necessarily what's happening now, but we are like moving towards that, you know? So give it a watch sometime. It's definitely something to think about. But
it's like WALL-E.
Yeah, WALL-E for music. The music in WALL-E was pretty good. If you go back to any, I feel like I wasn't really watching like those old Pixar cartoons or Disney stuff, like thinking about the music. But if you go back and watch like some of them and actually listen to the music, is like the soundtracks are amazing.
Yeah, which animated series do you feel like has the best soundtrack? And you can't say like Ghibli movies, because that's a cop out.
What? How's that a cop out?
It's a cop out.
Okay.
Yo, you're a lo-fi producer too. Like.
yeah. I can't be saying that. Animated series. Okay, what's yours?
What's mine? I don't know. I asked the question not having an answer myself.
Okay, we're gonna have dead air now, buddy.
I was gonna say like Shrek 2 or some shit.
But
that's not like
it's
animated
not
music.
Soundtrack.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, I mean, it is animated music, but it's not original soundtrack because they took. Oh no, it is.
Did they? I don't think.
Wait, wasn't it made for Shrek, or was it licensed for Shrek?
It was licensed for Shrek.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, then it doesn't count.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch that many.
Recent one, old one. Oh, I think the what's his name? The Jack Skellington one.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah. That music was amazing.
Oh, actually, yeah. Like in that realm, like Coraline, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. There's something so crazy about like, just like horror, like weird, like types of genres.
Yeah, the sound design and like the feeling that it invokes is really. Oh, I realized how important it was recently because I was in a game jam for a weekend and we were making a horror game.
Oh yeah.
And it was the first time I really had to like think about how to elicit fear in music or like tension in music, because mine was always the opposite. Making lo-fi music, mine was always just like, feeling relaxed and like just enjoying the music and being at peace. Now I'm like, I have to like do the complete opposite. I have to make you feel like nervous, like listening to the music. It's really interesting.
Yeah, you did a really good job of it too.
Oh, thank you, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, I should insert a clip or something.
I think I only got like, I didn't even get like a full 5 stars on the final rating of the thing. I think the audio was the lowest for all the categories.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, what the fuck?
Damn, some haters.
I thought I did a good job. Yeah, compared to other games. Anyways, that's just my ego. But, oh yeah. Also, we didn't touch on this for, the Kendrick versus Drake thing. But Kendrick mentioned a specific Chinese restaurant, New Hope.
Oh yeah.
In his lyrics, and it's really really funny because I think some of the people who've lived in Toronto or been to Chinatown before, like already knew about New Ho King. because it's been around for a while, and not that it's been famous before already, but it's just like out of all the restaurants that come in and out of Chinatown, there are staples, and even historical restaurants in Chinatown that never change, and New Ho King is one of them. And well, I originally knew about it because I lived on U of T campus, specifically at New College, which was the closest campus to Spanad College, which is Chinatown, and I like ate there, like in like 2018, like and no offense to them, but at the time, like they just sell like your regular Chinese fast food and things like that, and I didn't think it was anything like mind blowing.
I mean, you hater, bro.
I'm not hating. I'm just saying they're better in the same place, but I didn't like some of the menu items I saw. I don't know if they're new or not, but like I seeing a lot of TikToks of people trying New Ho King because it's like everyone's just like, yo, we gotta go, we gotta go for Kendrick.
It's tourist attraction.
And also seeing the owner being like, yo, Kendrick is a good person. Yeah. I was like, yo, that's amazing. That's actually amazing. Yeah. See, there's actually I kind of want to go back and try it. Some of the food items.
I'm curious too.
I wonder if it got better.
Yeah, I saw this thing where it's like that owner is like probably one of the luckiest guys like on that strip, just because like 10 years ago when Drake originally got robbed, like in front of that restaurant. Yeah. Like it became like a mini tourist attraction too.
Yeah,
because
already.
people were still visiting.
Yeah, yeah.
And then 10 years later,
it happens again.
Yeah, it happens again where he gets dissed. It's like, yo.
What's the context
of the Kendrick lyric or the old, like what he's referencing?
The new one, like the one that just came out.
Kendrick is referencing Drake getting robbed at that place.
So 10 years ago, like there was a Toronto rapper that was shooting like a music video, like in front of New Ho King, and at the time they robbed Drake for like his chain or something at the, like, I think during the video shoot or right after it, and during this whole like this battle where Drake is just like talking about LA and he's like, oh, I'm bigger in your own city, bigger in your city than you are. Kendrick is just like, yo, like I'm gonna bring up this place where you got robbed at, and I'm gonna bring them business, and then everyone loves me. Yeah.
It was so smart, actually, so smart.
It was like 4D chess move.
Yeah, we gotta go again. It's really interesting seeing, like, I guess we're so starved as Toronto for like attention, like actually. So when we have like these mini references or these artists like shouting Toronto, I'm always just like, oh, we're acknowledged.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, when Drake is talking about what is it, Silver City?
Oh, the Richmond Hill Silver City.
I don't know if it's the Richmond Hill one, because like I feel like they always have Silver Cities next to Indigo, or is that the one that he's talking about?
I thought it was the one, but yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but I listened to that lyric and I'm just like, yo, I was there.
That was me for real. Actually, me for real.
I was listening to Daniel Caesar recently, and he's talking about like, yo, we're walking down on Bloor Street. I'm like, yo, I walked down on Bloor Street. What? That's crazy.
God, we are just like the rest of them. Jesus. Yeah, I always try to feel like, how like, we'll be cool about Toronto, like I would just bring the culture, you know what I'm saying?
Yo, Toronto mentioned.
Toronto mentioned. I'm like, oh. But yeah, that's we're just basic.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's
just like the rest of them.
Yeah, we really are starved for attention.
Speaking of starved for attention, fucking Ethan.
Jeez.
Yeah, as I said in the beginning of the podcast, like one of the things, it's kind of an impromptu episode, is because I'm going to be joining Ethan on his GSoul tour. And I guess I just want to talk about it briefly. Like, we'll probably have an episode after we come back to talk about his experience as a whole. And I think that'd be really interesting. But kind of just like a pre-tour. I guess I don't really know what to expect. I've never been on we travel for shows, but never like a whole ass North American tour. I also never been to like half the cities, which is nice. Like, get to go to Seattle for the first time, San Francisco. I haven't been since I was like a little baby. So like, there's definitely a lot of cities that I haven't been able to visit, and just want to go and see the culture.
You Mr. Worldwide?
And the food. No, just North America.
Dale.
And yeah, a little bit nervous, but I think I'm more excited for Ethan to like kind of go on his journey, albeit just opening for GSoul right now.
GSoul the Prince.
GSoul is amazing though. Like I really thought he was the R&B king for me, like Korean R&B king.
Yeah.
In my head, but I guess like he's not as big as I thought. Like pop culturally.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess if you consume a lot of Korean R&B, like GSoul or Golden, he was for a little bit. Like his name will kind of pop up.
Mhm.
But I was even talking to like some people that are close to me, and they're just like, I was excited. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna go tour GSoul, and they're like, who's that? I'm like, oh, fuck. Guess it's not as exciting as I thought it was gonna be.
I don't know. His music always hits the spot for me.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Like his writing too. I'm just like tears.
Yeah. I mean, Hate Everything is the one I always go to when I want to cry.
I hate everything too. Fuck.
Yeah, he just like me for real. Oh my god. So yeah, I think it's really exciting to go on this tour. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I'm still alive when I come back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll only have COVID hosting. So good luck with that.
You gotta come back. There's a lot of shows. How many shows is it again?
19 and 30 days, I believe.
Wild.
For a month, which is like really fucked up to think about.
Yeah, you're getting worked.
Because it's like a show basically every other day. You get a couple of days rest. Well, we're not doing the Toronto and Montreal leg.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a couple of days just to chill in Toronto before we fly out for the next one. Yeah, it's going to be very tiring. But, I don't know. It's an experience. So we'll make sure you tune into that episode when we come back. And what are you going to do for that month when I'm gone?
For that month?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Just chilling?
Might just chill. Might go to New York. I think I'm just gonna be working on my own stuff, my creative stuff.
Well, that's exciting, honestly. Being able to like, you just get a period in your life. Sometimes we are so like caught up in like other people's stuff, or we're caught up in like work or whatever it is, our personal lives. Being able to just actually just focus on your music for a little bit is actually like freeing.
Yeah.
A little bit. You actually realize you don't get to do that often. Like even people who make music for a living, for example, like Ethan, exactly. Like you won't get to make that much music while you're touring. Or GSoul, like you're not gonna make that much music while you're touring. And so, like there's so many other aspects to actually like being a musician or being an artist where it doesn't involve making music. So actually getting to sit down and just that is the sole focus for a little bit is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's a blessing, I think.
Yeah, for sure. What's something I'm also grasping for topics.
I also have a photo of you just like by my desk.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I'm missing you every day.
Oh jeez. Wait, which one though? I'm kind of concerned.
It's not very safe for work.
Okay, well, we're not flashing that on screen. Something me and you have been doing recently is we joined the Korean softball league.
Oh yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's always funny, like for me specifically as like a non-Korean, because I had a lot of Korean friends growing up that were part of the church community, and you always hear about the softball leagues and how competitive they are, and like the general like community aspect of it. But I never got to like join it myself until now.
I feel like the softball leagues were actually like more of a recent thing. It was like the soccer leagues that were like crazy competitive.
Oh,
like that's like where the lore starts. Like the beef between churches
is in the soccer leagues.
Yeah, the soccer leagues.
Jeez,
because Koreans love soccer too.
Yeah. Culturally,
man.
I mean, you guys are nasty at it too, so
thank you.
Sense.
Well, not me specifically, but
yeah, on behalf of all Koreans, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, it's like really interesting. Haven't been outside like looking in on it, and then all of a sudden like playing with them.
Yeah, Henry's basically Korean now.
Thanks, bro. That's all I just the validation I've always been looking for.
Yeah, he fuck with kimchi.
But I mean, it's been fun for sure. I used to play baseball in high school, so softball is like actually is not necessarily easier. It's easier to hit because it's slow pitch, but not necessarily easier to play as a sport.
Yeah,
because it's its own struggles of like it being a bigger ball, harder to throw, and things like that. And because it's slow pitch, like you basically everyone's always teeing off, so you kind of expect people to always score and it being high scoring. So that aspect has been interesting, but it makes me think about how like the Korean Christian community, there are a lot of music artists in it.
Yeah.
That don't necessarily, maybe some of their music doesn't necessarily reflect their actual personal lives per se.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them are like coming from like the Korean Christian community and trying to champion that. It's really interesting seeing these different artists come out and have their own interpretations or like involvement in their own like music identity.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because like when you're growing up, and I'm speaking from experience because like I am Korean.
I didn't know. Oh,
oh shit.
Oh geez. Okay.
Yeah, like when you grow up in that whole community, like you don't really think anything of it, because it's just like your life, you know. Like you go to church every Sunday, maybe Saturday or Friday too, and you just like hang out with kids that are like your age, and your parents have like friends that are like also like, you know, pastors or just like really involved in the church as well. And it's just like your life is basically centered around it. And it's not until you step out into like the secular world or just like, I guess, regular life, they start to realize like, yo, this is kind of like a very, like, zeitgeist is like the word that we use all the time. But like this is like truly like a tight knit community.
Yeah. And because it's like very niche, like culturally niche and very new, honestly, I feel like in terms of art and specifically music, like you get really, really unique perspectives, or at least very unique artists coming out, because it's like they come from a perspective or have lived a life that is like very different from a lot of people, and especially with the rising kind of acceptance or like normality of Asians in the creative industry and Asians in music. Naturally, you also get like sort of these niche communities rising up. I mean, you hear about K-Town a lot, and you hear about Dumbfounded and like how that community has shaped K-R&B and like not necessarily K-pop, but like Korean hip hop and things like that in the West, and the connection and the bridge between the West and the East. But specifically in Toronto, like you have these artists like talking about, or like not necessarily talking about like, but having a lot of influence in the Korean Christian community and coming out and making music themselves.
Yeah, like that community is already so small and tight knit, and also the Toronto music community is also very small and tight knit. So when you have like that Venn diagram of like people that are already in these niche communities, you know everybody that's like working in these circles. Like it's impossible to separate yourself from.
You
if
literally
you just are
know
those things.
You literally know everybody. It's actually crazy.
Yeah,
like every artist or everyone actually trying to be an artist or make music, like we probably know.
Yeah,
in the Korean Christian community specifically.
Like the types of characters that you see too, and I'm not gonna name any names, but like if you know, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you get people that like, you know, you grow up with them, and their parents are like heavily involved in the church, and they come out with their music, and they're just like, yo, I be toting bangers, you know, I be shooting, I be dealing drugs. I'm just like, whoa, where did this come from? Whoa, we were at Friday night Bible study together. Yo, we were at VBS, bro.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it is actually crazy, like how different it is from like where they are, like, in their own personal lives.
You also get people that like, you know, their parents are like, we call them PKs, like pastors' kids. And there's this reputation amongst PKs where it's like you either are super deep in that life, like along with your parents, or you're just like a complete rebel. And a lot of the music kids I've seen are like complete rebels. And I see them with like their pastor or pastor adjacent parents, and they're talking in their music. They're like, yo, I want to kill myself. Yo, life isn't good. Yo, I'm so sad. I'm so lonely. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, it's very real, especially because well, especially because like you're like you've lived it yourself and you're like involved to a certain extent in the Korean Christian community. So like seeing both sides, like it is actually like really interesting to see. Yeah, and we'll see how their careers progress in the coming years, because I think a lot of them are really talented and have like have like a lot to say, honestly, in their personal lives.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, working with a few of them, like coming up, we'll see if the music comes out. But I think a lot of them do have like a very interesting story to tell and a very unique story to tell. And I'm very excited to see like where they progress in their careers.
I think with these artists too, like they have a very unique pressure that's on them, because it's like societal expectations and like family expectations, like religious expectations, and like, you know, when you come out with music that isn't exactly like falling in that category, then it starts to paint like a weird like image in your mind, like, yo, am I really like that close to my faith, or like am I gonna put myself in this section where like I do fit in like the religious category, or do I just like subtly not talk about those things, or do I still talk about those things because they're very human experiences? It's like this whole like weird like dichotomy and like double life and like internal battle that you gotta face.
The double life is interesting because you do see some of these artists have like their own music persona or music life outside of it.
Yeah.
Or they're interacting with like the underground scene, or people like that are not part of the community, and they come back and they're just like a normal Christian kid.
It's it's so weird because like you have, as Korean Canadians or Korean Americans, you already have like this weird like identity crisis. And then when it comes to being religious and being in a music scene that isn't exactly like that, like all the way around, it's also like an identity crisis. So you're like battling for like 4 different things like all at once. And it's just like, it becomes like tough, but it also like brings out some of the best art that like you've ever heard.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the human struggle, like the identities you have to live and trying to find your voice in the world and in music. Like there is so much to explore, and like as you said, like the pressure and the expectations for so many different parts of your life while you're still like a young adult trying to figure out in the world. Like it becomes like a very interesting kind of perfect storm of like creating a really interesting artist. Like we do have, when I think about like Korean art, like Korean artists out of Korea that are also like Christian, like I feel like a lot of them don't really do music anymore. If you think about it.
So Korean Christian artists?
Yeah. Like in Korea, out of Korea. Because I'm thinking about like, what's his name? Not Reddy. It's like one of the guys who's like, he talks about like God and like all his raps. And I feel like I haven't heard anything from him in a while.
Oh man, that's a couple guys.
Yeah, it's a couple guys.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like the ones that really champion it, like kind of just, they're like done. Like that's not like their main motivation is not to make music, but is to like kind of talk about their faith,
Yeah,
their relationship with God.
Yeah,
using that as a platform.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There's like so many different paths that you can go with this kind of stuff.
What do you think personally, like for you, in your own Korean Christian, like artistic identity? Well, I guess as a producer, it's a little. You also come from a different perspective compared to everyone else, right?
Yeah, I think with the type of art that like I want to work on, just like with the identity cards that I've been dealt, I think like, you know, at my core, I still identify as like a Christian. I still identify with those values, and even if I am talking about things like in those types of like human experiences, like stuff that isn't necessarily like so straightforward, like glorifying of, you know, of the religion or like of the faith that I'm in, like it should all come back like full circle to those things, like kind of like abide by certain standards and fall in line with like, okay, if you're following my artist journey, then you'll understand that like this isn't just like who I am as a whole. Like this is part of like a bigger, you know, puzzle that is telling my story. And ultimately the story is that like, you know, I want to be in touch with those things. So I think that's kind of like a guideline, not even necessarily just for music, but just like for life, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Also, like, how do you, I think what's really been interesting for me is like, I grew up in the Catholic Church myself, but as I got older, I kind of, I used to just go to church or be part of the community because my parents are like, well, you got to go every Sunday, you know? But as I got older and I got to make that choice, I also was just like, started questioning my faith and why did I believe? Like, why did I believe? Like, do I identify as a, like, God-fearing man or like a Christian, a Catholic, whatever it is, you know? And struggling with that for a while. And then I come across so many different people that are like my age that are still, I mean, the consensus is right now that there is a mass exodus of young people leaving religion. There are more and more people being atheists, more and more people like no longer participating or identifying as like a Christian or a Catholic anymore, or identifying with religion in general. And it's really interesting when you come across people that are our age where their faith is still really strong and they still really are an active participant in the community. And it's really interesting having conversations with them about that specifically, because it's like understanding their perspectives, understanding their strength, their faith, and understanding, you know, their relationship with God and things like that. And it really helps kind of with my journey when it comes to like re-exploring my faith again, you know, just like individually, not even part of music. And I kind of just want to ask like what your journey's been, because knowing you, we kind of came from the same place where, you know, we brought up in our childhood in the church, but like as you get a little bit older and you kind of leave the house, you're just like, oh, you kind of question certain things. But as you said, like you still identify as a Christian. So kind of, how's your journey been? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there was a while where like I didn't, and like you like from the second I was born, like I was brought up in that type of lifestyle and that type of like ideology. So you know, it was just like always a part of my identity. And it wasn't until like I started questioning, like seeing the behaviors of like the people around me and like seeing how they fell in line with like the things that I was learning, where I was like, there's like a lot of inconsistency here, and I feel like I'm getting the wrong message. I also just like don't know what life is like outside of, you know, what life has been for me already. So for a while, like I decided to remove myself from it just so I could understand like more about the world, and you know, kind of look within myself as well. And I think it wasn't until I really saw like, after a lot of self-reflection, like how broken I was inside, or like how much damage had been done to me, that I'm just like, yo, I think I need to like, you know, get back in touch with that. Because ultimately, like when I was in the world without, you know, that type of guidance, or not being surrounded by that type of community, the things that kept me together were ultimately the values that like were instilled from when I was like still in that lifestyle. So I'm like, maybe I just need to tap into it a little bit more, be a little bit more focused with like what I understand about it, and use it as like a strong guideline for like what my life should be. So.
Yeah, it's when you talk about how like your morals and how your beliefs being shaped by that and growing up in it, I completely agree. Same with me, where like a lot of the teachings and how to be a better person, or how you want to live your life as like a positive member of society, like a lot of those values I definitely like kept and still believe in, and has shaped who I am as a person to some extent. But yeah, like that part of like we kind of just did it without, or at least I did it without questioning it. And so when you start to question it, you have to re-explore your entire relationship. It's like when like you and a friend have a fight, and you're a childhood friend, and you're just like, oh, like we were just childhood friends simply because like, or like maybe a high school friend, like you're forced to be, you see everyone every single day. To some extent, some of the friendships are just like because you see each other. It's convenient friendships, right?
No, that's a really good point. Like I think there's also the distinction in my mind where it's like I was being dragged like to church like every Sunday, not because like I necessarily wanted to, but at this point it's like an active effort, and I think that creates like a world of difference for me.
Oh yeah. Like you're choosing to be there instead of like being forced to be there.
Yeah.
Right?
And then at that point, like I can say to myself too, that's like, yeah, like I'm doing this because like I want to do it. I'm doing this because, you know, I love God, or I love, you know, the community around me. I mean, first and foremost, it's love God, but
I mean, it's part of the community. That's why you're out there.
Yeah, right? It's like it becomes like a definitive thing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm personally still kind of exploring that in my life, and it's been interesting and very enlightening. You know, talking to you and a lot of other people who still are a very active participant in their faith and practicing their faith. So it's been great to be able to talk to you guys and see how you guys live your lives and pick your brains about these things, because it's definitely something I'm still exploring myself. You know, and it's really interesting listening to like just secular music as well recently, or like music that is specifically written to be played in like praise or like churches and things like that, you know, because it was like it's actually just its own genre of music.
Yeah, exactly.
And you really won't listen to it or discover it outside of those contexts, you know, like outside of those institutions. So like you'll listen to some of the music is honestly banger. I'm not gonna lie. I'm bopping my head vibing.
Yeah, low-key.
And yeah, like these people, and the community is also really small from my understanding. And so like these people who write these songs like and play them like all know each other as well, all around the world. And it's like kind of like your own micro celebrity like type.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, man, you don't know about the Korean Christian conferences where all the churches like come together. And that's how everybody just like ends up knowing each other.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. So I don't know if this is like this is not doxing, right? Like there was the Korean Christian conference in Cancun.
Oh yeah. Well, that was like for like.
Oh, sorry. You're talking about
I'm talking about like literally
Vision X.
like Vision X.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Stuff that's like hosted in like Chicago or that was the last one that I went to. It was like a long time ago.
Wow, Vision. I mean, Toronto has a lot of like these sort of things. And obviously like. Yeah, some of these people who write these music like pull up and they're just like celebrities because like all these people are like singing my music to worship like God and things like that. It's really interesting. Well, actually, speaking of the Cancun conference one, So I guess this is not really private information. I guess like kind of.
It kind of is.
Kind of.
Like,
Okay, I mean, I won't talk about the specifics of what I just found out about it, but it's like really interesting seeing all the talking heads or like community leaders around the world like all meet up in one place to like talk about what's going on in the community around the world.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was it's very unique for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of politics that come into play.
Yeah,
that
you don't really think about like the politics of church too much.
Yeah,
that aspect.
It's like kind of crazy because you expect everyone to be on the same page because like we all follow like one like living God and like one religion, but it's just like, damn, there's this much misunderstanding. There's this much like moral ethical dilemma.
Yeah, even though you think the moral and ethics like everyone should be in line like or like on the same page about these things.
Yeah,
like, apparently not.
Yeah, apparently not. But you know that's part of like being human too.
That's true. Yeah. Well, as I play more Korean church softball and I continue kind of participating in the community, just like rediscovering my own faith, it's definitely, I've learned a lot, opened my eyes to a lot of things. And when it comes to like music and things like that, it's been really interesting seeing it in that light or from that community and seeing how it's just such a unique perspective that they have, like these artists have. And I'm really excited to see like the next wave and the next generation of artists that come from these communities and see how they develop their artistry and things like that.
Yeah, me too.
Might have some of them on the pod one time. Hopefully.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hear their perspectives like firsthand and things like that. It'd be a really interesting conversation, I would say.
For sure.
Because like, I mean, I have conversations with them all the time, like outside of like recording. Obviously, like we're on the record and we have to stand in front of a camera. I think some people don't necessarily feel comfortable. Or I understand. There's definitely like people that I've asked to be on the pod that like you're just not comfortable. And honestly, I wasn't comfortable when I first started too. But like there are conversations like behind the scenes that are so interesting, like personally, like talking to them, and like it'd be really amazing to like one day for them to like be able to share that with everyone in an audience, because I think it's really valuable. Yeah, ultimately,
we're gonna hunt them down.
Okay, I won't say that. But they will come, and there is a list.
Yeah, it's a hit list.
I guess we'll kind of wrap things up here.
Sure.
Thank you for coming on. A little bit last minute impromptu podcast, but I think it was really insightful, and maybe we'll do more things that are like kind of talking about relevant topics, or maybe I just got to be a better host and talk about relevant topics. But yeah, thank you for listening again. And the feedback I've been getting recently has been like really positive and really empowering in terms of feeling confident about like even getting in front of a mic and talking to you guys for an hour about like music industry stuff or creative industry stuff in general, especially as someone who's still young and trying to figure out life and things like that. And oftentimes people in our stage, we don't feel like our voice is valid necessarily. You know, like when we listen to podcasts and things like that, we always look up to like people who are industry professionals or are famous and have been doing it for a very long time. But we don't often look at people who's in our stage of life, how much we just want to, you don't really get to hear their voice so much because we all feel like our voice isn't as valid.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, finding the courage to like sit up here every other week and talk for an hour and yap for an hour, even though I'm kind of nervous about it sometimes. I try not to show it, but definitely appreciate you guys' feedback and continue listening. Bro. Oh, thank you, man. And we'll hope to see you on the next one, baby.